And they're going to raise their rates.
Yeah.
Something new. Yeah. Okay, good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Butte County LAFCo meeting. It's August 1st, 2024. First order of business is a roll call.
Commissioner Bolin,
Here.
Commissioner Johnson,
Here.
Commissioner Kimmelshoe,
Here.
Chair Connolly,
Here.
Commissioner McGreehan, Commissioner Duncan, Commissioner Betts,
Here.
alternate Commissioner Rust,
Here.
alternate Commissioner Bradley, alternate Commissioner Ritter, alternate Commissioner Shepherd. Thank you.
Next up is the consent agenda. Would any board member like to pull anything from the consent agenda? Is there any public comment electronically today? Anybody from the public want to pull something from the consent agenda? I'll entertain a motion.
I motion that the
Second.
Very good. You guys are trained up. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes unanimously. On to the regular agenda. 4.2, review of the 2023-24 grand jury report.
Can we do items? Do you want to skip to 4.2 or?
Did I miss one?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Notice public hearing.
All right. Good morning, commissioners. This is item 3.1. Project 2403 City Chico West East Avenue Annexation Number 2, Tetro. This is a proposal to annex 3 parcels and adjacent road right-of-way to the City of Chico. The parcels are generally located on the westerly edge of the City of Chico in the southwesterly boundary of the Belle Muir Special Planning Area. The annexation would facilitate development of 2 of the parcels with 74 lots for residential development. And one of the parcels contains the Masonic Center, which would remain, and no changes are proposed for that parcel. To accommodate development, at its February 20th meeting, the City of Chico City Council adopted a series of resolutions and ordinances to amend the pre-zoning and general plan land use designations for this site, adopted a mitigative negative declaration and mitigation monitoring program, and approved the subdivision associated with this development. So today I'm asking that you would adopt resolution 09-2324 approving the annexation, finding the project would not have a significant effect on the environment and waiving protest provisions. We started the project with without 100% consent, but we have since received 100% landowner consent from both the project proponent and the Masonic Center to annex these parcels into the City of Chico. We received one email that you should have received earlier this week. I have a copy of that here if you need it, expressing concerns from a property owner adjacent to the site. But like I said, we do have 100% landowner consent for this annexation. If you have any questions for me, I'm happy to answer. The project proponent is also here to answer any questions that you might have.
So what was the gist of the, I couldn't get into that letter. Was it just?
If you want, I could read it. It does express concern over traffic in the area, that the proposed subdivision is too dense of a development for the project site, and that the infrastructure in the area is not set up to accommodate the development. This neighbor did speak up at the City Chico public hearings, but like I said, there was probably 3 or 4 public hearings held for this project at the City Chico, and it was approved.
It appears to be conforming to everything around it.
Yes.
Staff, LAFCO staff has provided a resolution for our consideration to adopt on this
That's
hearing
right.
item. My simple question is, the LAFCO resolution makes reference in its text body of section 4 to an exhibit B. Is that exhibit B the actual city council's resolution document that has the boundaries of the said property? Is that the reference, exhibit B?
Your question, I'm sorry, what's your question?
The LAFCO resolution makes reference to the subject property being approved as depicted in Exhibit B attached here too. And what follows our LAFCO resolution is the city council's resolution with the exhibit of the property. Is that Exhibit B?
Yes.
Thank you.
I've got a question. This obviously, since the Valley's Edge property was decided upon by the citizens of Chico not to be an area of growth, this appears to be an area of growth for the city of Chico now. Have we had any other interest or any other applications for properties in this Belmere area? Is this going to continue? Are we going to do piecemeal, one piece at a time, or is it a possibility of doing a larger section of annexation?
We do not have in our possession another application for this area, but I have been notified to anticipate an application coming for the area just immediately north of this. So it would be this, these parcels here are proposed for annexation and a future subdivision that's coming our way probably this fall sometime. I've also been notified that some areas, on the other side of Nord Avenue, are potentially coming, our way for annexation and development. The city of Chico is moving forward with broader discussions on what to do with the Belmere special planning area. It's a special planning area just like Valley's Edge was. And so it requires comprehensive planning for infrastructure and the appropriate land uses for this area. This area is more difficult because of the hundreds of landowners in the area and the smaller parcels that they're dealing with. So it's probably not likely that we would see a very large annexation out here, and it would come to us a little more piecemeal. However, every parcel would have to be contiguous to the city, and we would, of course, want to create logical boundaries through each of those annexations that come our way. But it's probably unlikely that we would see a broad annexation of this area.
Okay, so you kind of answered my second question. That is, what concerns should LAFCO have in this area as annexations take place? And obviously infrastructure.
Yeah, the special
Protection for agriculture, those type of things.
The special planning area in the City of Chico General Plan identifies the need for east-west infrastructure. It doesn't have much connectivity going east-west. It also doesn't have a lot of opportunity to create that east-west connectivity. So that'll be something that the city will have to achieve one subdivision at a time. Yeah.
Okay, well, I guess we'll take it. We'll take them as we get them. Is
Yeah,
that right?
yes.
Yeah.
Turn your mic on. Yeah. No.
No.
Yeah, and for all the things that Shannon had already described, but in the bigger picture, as you pointed out, Mr. Kimmelshue, with the loss of Valley's Edge, this is a substantial growth area. And so what we want to see, and from a LAFCO perspective solely, is we want that land to be used to the highest, best, most dense possible purpose. We would not like to see, and nor would it apply to state standards or to our policies, to see this build out at 1 acre lots. We want to see that we have as many rooftops on it as possible, because that's where the services are, and that's where the economies of scale will exist for that. So while it's not happy for folks who live in a somewhat rural area, or it's changing, our goal under state law, and as most of you already know, is we need to develop as much housing as we can within the spheres of influence of the cities. And this is within their sphere. And it is our obligation to ensure that sphere gets built out to the most extensive, most efficient way possible. I hope that answers your question.
You did, and I'm glad you brought up, and then I will stop belaboring the point. But I know that some of these parcels in this area have already been zoned 1 acre by Butte County. And I would hate to see, just like you said, and I think it's a very poor use of the land in an area that is going to be developed residential, 1 acre parcels. I don't know how we get around that, but I guess, like, again, we take it one at a time.
Any other?
Move to approve. Second.
48 amendments.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passed unanimously. All right. Regular agenda, 4.2, review of 2023-2024 grand jury report.
Morning, Commissioners. As you have in front of you is a section of the 2024 grand jury report, which relates to a particular section called multiplicity of sewer districts in the Oroville area, and that's attached to your report. So this morning, all that this is in front of you is for informational purposes. I'm letting you know that this has happened. We are not a responding agency, so we don't have a requirement under the law to respond to this. What the grand jury has basically said, and it's in the report, is that they ultimately believe that some form of consolidation would be useful and beneficial to the area. That's a statement. Now they're going to take that to the Board of Supervisors, and they had made recommendations that the board take some action to promote that or encourage it. The board has not heard this yet, so I can't speculate as to what the board would do.
Yeah, we heard it.
The grand jury report?
Well, we all get copies of it.
I know, but you didn't respond to it yet. The Board of Supervisors did not respond
That's
officially
in
yet.
draft.
Okay.
Sorry.
Well, so that's what I want to see and see what the board ends up asking this commission to do. But I want to emphasize right now that we're just accepting this report, and it made some recommendations and findings, none of which everybody will agree with. But the bottom line is this: consolidation, should it ever move forward, is going to involve a lot of work. It's going to involve a study in itself that might prove that it's not the most efficient. The grand jury report, to me, is simply calling out some observations that they made from what was available to them documented wise. And now, if that does move forward, it's going to be a whole nother host of a process that involves a lot of public outreach, working with the affected entities. And I don't even really want to go down that road, because until we get that direction or we get asked to do so, that's not something that you're asked to do today. So I just want to be clear that just because we accept this today, or the board even takes an action to make the recommendations as requested, there is a lot of mileage down the road that we have to get to before we can even consider such an action. So I just want to kind of tamp it down a little as to where we are in the process. If you have any questions for me, I'm happy to answer them.
Well, the statement, the county doesn't consolidate districts, LAFCo does. So the only thing we're gonna do is punt back here, I'm sure.
That may be very well what the board does, but until I get that back, I will bring it back to a future agenda once we get that response, and then the 7 of you can decide how you want to move forward based on what the board's response is.
Okay, questions or comments by board members? Public comment. Anybody from the public like to speak on this matter? Close public comment. Direction to staff, go forth and be merry. I mean, I think it should be consolidated personally.
Sure.
But we'll see what
It
happens.
makes a lot of sense, but
Well, like I said, when we get a
it
report
May not
back,
happen in my lifetime, but I think
yeah,
it should
I mean,
happen.
as those things move forward, we will look at them.
You need a motion for acceptance of this, or just let it go?
no, you just need to accept it. That's all.
Okay.
Okay, 4.3, update on letter agreement with LAFCO cities of Biggs, Gridley, and irrigation and drainage district.
Okay, as requested, I am here to update you on the letter agreement that at our June 6th meeting, I was given direction to enter into. This, again, is a letter agreement between the cities of Gridley, Biggs, and irrigation and reclamation service providers on the west side of the county. At its July 16th meeting, the letter agreement was introduced to the city of Gridley. And after a lengthy comment from the city attorney, the city council unanimously voted not to enter into the agreement. In lieu of the agreement, city staff is proposing what they're calling monthly development roundtable meetings. That would include city staff, special district staff, members of the city council, and LAFCo staff. And the purpose of that meeting would be to discuss potential development projects, provide an opportunity for the districts to voice their comments and concerns. The reason I'm bringing this update to you is because it's my opinion that the letter was grossly misrepresented to the city council. I don't believe it was explained to them properly, accurately, or in a way that depicts the year of work that's gone into this process. So it's unfortunate that that was the decision that was made, but with that being said, there still is a letter agreement in place that includes the city of Biggs and all reclamation service and irrigation service providers and LAFCo are party to that letter agreement. And so I plan to meet with those parties next week to get that official signature on that letter. And then I, of course, will attend the development roundtable meeting that is to occur August, I believe, 21st with those districts to kind of move forward. Ultimately, we are achieving the goal that we set out for, which was a collaboration and discussion amongst the parties so that the districts could have a voice in the development that's going on around the city of Gridley. It's unfortunate that it couldn't be, you know, in the way that we intended, but like I said, we're reaching the same goal that we had set out for. So that's a huge plus. So that's just an update for you today. If you have any questions, I can answer them, but it's more just for your information.
What did the city object to?
The letter agreement was explained to the city that they were handing over what they called veto power to the districts to veto any development projects that came before them, which we all know the districts have no land use authority, so they essentially cannot have any say over development projects. But it was explained to them in a way that they were handing over too much power to the districts. And they just, you know, obviously if it's explained to them in that way, they were they could not agree to that. And so that was ultimately what it came down to.
Thank you.
And if I may comment, and that's exactly how it was explained to us.
Yeah. Yep.
So, I mean, what do you do at that point? And on the council, when you look at it, when you have an attorney or attorney explaining it to us that way, so.
Get a new attorney,
Yeah,
because he can't create powers that don't exist.
Mhm.
What she's saying is they do not have that power, nor can they obtain that power. So that's bad advice. You asked.
yeah, no, and hey, and I'm listening. You know, I think moving forward though, one of the last comment would be, I'm looking forward to having these monthly sit downs with the districts, because in the past that has not been done.
Mhm.
And I knew that, you guys know that I knew that, and I was trying to work on that and fix that. I tried.
Mhm.
Okay, so moving forward, I think that this is our first step in making sure that everybody that's at the table and understands what's going on and what we're trying to do, and we can work together. So,
Mhm.
all right, thanks.
Any other questions or comments? Any public comment on that matter? Close to. Move on then. LAFCo award nominations.
That'll be me. So every 2 years, LAFCo looks at awards and takes them forth to the membership to vote in an awards committee. And I've given you some background on awards, that what the topics are for the awards, and then awards that this commission or its members or staff have received over time. So today, it's an open forum to make nominations for awards. And those awards are for LAFCo Volunteer, Associate Member, Outstanding Commissioner, LAFCo Professional Lifetime Achievement, and what we call the Mike Gotch Excellence Award. And I've attached all those categories for you to review. As your staff, I'm going to go out on a limb, and I'm going to recommend that we nominate our commission chair, Bill Connolly, for the Outstanding Commissioner / LAFCo Volunteer Award. And I can go on along, but I did point out here that Bill's been with us for 19 years, 10 years on the LAFCo board, 8 years on the legislative committee. He's made presentations at the Capitol. He's worked with our legislators. He's been involved in numerous special projects on the executive committee. I could go on, which I will in his nomination forms. But I am asking the commission, if you so see fit, to support that nomination for Mr. Connolly. I think he's done a remarkable job, and And as you all know, he wears that LAFCO hat proudly, and he wears it here every single time he comes. And as your staff, Bill, we all appreciate that's what you do. We know it's not always easy to be both a board member and a Cal LAFCO member or a LAFCO member. That goes for all of you for that matter. But I really think over the years, Bill, you've always stood up for us and for our organization. So I would ask that the commission endorse a nomination for Mr. Connolly.
That's
Or
well- Yeah, it's well deserved, Bill.
Thank you.
Yes, I would, if you need a motion, I would move that we nominate Bill Connolly as outstanding commissioner.
And I'll second.
Can I ask a question on the motion?
Absolutely.
Aren't these two categories the way you have this written?
Well, there's two
Why not
categories there.
nominate
One-
them for both?
I'm giving me the flexibility to write this the best I can and get into the appropriate category. I think you can't win two categories for the same nomination. Yeah, that's the same thing in elections. But I will probably lean towards the outstanding commissioner award. I just wanted to let you know there was another category that he would also qualify for, in my belief.
Okay.
I happen to run the awards committee, so.
All right, so all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, I'd like to say this, Steve, you deserve Lifetime Achievement Award
Yes, he does.
at a minimum, and is that gonna fall to Mr. Brown to write or me?
Well, you were.
Well, I think we should put him in for Life Achievement
Is that a
Award.
motion?
Yeah, because he's gonna retire.
Okay, I'll second.
I move. Okay,
Yeah.
you already made it.
No, Steve's well-known up and down the state
He
and,
is.
how do I put this? Being on Cal LAFCO isn't all rose-colored glasses and good things. I mean, I try to push the envelope as does Steve to keep what power we have and use it to the benefit of the public, and others tend to want to just listen to themselves talk. Let me put it that way. So it's been a pleasure to serve with you, and all the smart executive officers around the state really appreciate you. That's how I'll put that.
Thank you.
You deserve it. So did I get a second on that?
You did.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? Okay. Yeah, you're really good at your job, Steve. Okay, so we're gonna move on then. I'll consider stepping down from Cal LAFCO if someone here is interested in taking my place. It's
You're looking at-
been a good run, but I'm a little frustrated the way it's going right now, and I think maybe fresh eyes could. Because there's certain things I believe that have to be fixed, and if you avoid the worst thing, it kind of like festers and gets worse, and I think that's where Cal LAFCO is right now. But if somebody else wants to take my place, I'd consider stepping down from it after I get my award.
You'll see if you get your award.
Should.
Okay, moving on. Executive officer board.
I'll try to go through this pretty quickly. The first item just is an ongoing item for renewing our lease at Downer Street. We've already talked a little bit about this, and we are continue to look at options, both where we're currently at within the city of Oroville and then externally other places in the county, most likely Chico, where most of the options would exist. And when we get some of that more squared away with some options for in front of you, we will present that. Shannon will probably be on point on looking out for the new lease. Since she'll be at that place longer than I will moving forward. But I just wanted to give you a heads up that we're still consistently working on that. I'm gonna let Shannon take the next one.
This is just public agency engagement. Crystal and I attended a private tour provided by Cal Water Oroville Region Facilities in early July. So that was an invite extended by them to come out and take a look at their facilities located out in kind of eastern Oroville. So that was neat. We had never been out there, and that was, of course, right before the fire came through. So I don't know how different it looks out there now, but they're hanging in there out there in Cal Water, Oroville. So it was a pretty neat experience, and we're thankful that we got to go out there.
Thank you. I went to something that has an awful lot of names listed there, but it was originally the Jobs First program put on by North State Regional Investment. A lot of various staff from around the county participated in this, both public sector, private sector, nonprofits. It was fairly well represented. And with a goal to look at the knowledge base and of the multiple communities that exist within Butte County. And to make a long story short, is they're identifying certain areas based on census tracts and then coming up with sort of a rubric for how what are their assets in terms of human assets and cultural traditions and historical actions. I mean, there's a variety of things that they look at to determine if an area is in need of X, whatever that X is, in order to make that that community more resilient, more adaptive, more sustainable. It was very interesting. It was an all-day event. I will add this, from a LAFCo perspective, it was somewhat difficult because when you're in a room with social service folks who have the best intentions in mind to help people, but there's a really clear gap between what folks would like to do and what the service footprint of various communities can actually do. And it was difficult for me to sometimes say, that's great, we would love to help community X in that regard, but their closest service center for any of those types of things is 20 miles away. And you just can't automatically make it happen. So it's somewhat wishful thinking, but it's a very valuable process. And I like to think that we were able to insert some reality to it, that you have to, like, I think Mr. Connolly brings this up often, and I don't want to step on your toes, Bill, but folks that live in Berry Creek, there's an expectation of service that they want, but the service has to come from the city of Oroville or the Oroville community, and that's a bit of a reach. So to expect that to come there is not always reasonable or feasible, but nonetheless, they want that. And it's tough to say you want to do something to helpful for these folks who want to kind of pull their own selves up, but they also don't want to tie into a service network that obligates them to some other function. And it's a tough one, because we can't serve everybody everywhere in rural communities. And the reality is, if you're 50 miles away from a fire station and something happens on your property, you're 50 miles away from a fire station. That it can't get there any faster. And to think that you can somehow bring a fire station to those 20 people that live 50 miles away, not feasible. So this is the kind of stuff that they're churning through to come up with this. This is an ongoing year-long process, but it's just an interesting one that I think it's for us to be able to, for me to be there, to be able to sort of enlighten them as to where the service capabilities really are and what's feasible is important. So I'll continue to relay that back to you if something new comes up. Tuscan Ridge PUD, only thing there is to add that as I indicated, and all along, we've been reviewing this, responding to everything up to and including our responses back to the draft environmental impact report. Those are in your packet. I'm not going to go through that for you. If you have questions for me, I'm happy to answer them, or I can talk to you offline about it. I did make sure those comments went through back to the Town of Paradise so they could see what our comments were, and to PID as well, and the Paradise and the Park and Rec District, in fact. Al may not be aware, but I reached out to your general manager about all the things that you bring to bear in terms of what you've been doing for fire safe awareness and building buffers. And I think there's a role to play. And eventually, if this project moves forward, it ought to be annexed completely into PRPD, and PRPD, if possible, should be looking at being the service provider for Parks and Rec within that community. So these are the kinds of things that were in my comments. It's obviously a county decision to make when it eventually gets in front of the Board of Supervisors to approve. And I'm sure it won't be an easy one necessarily, because there are a few very significant issues, but nonetheless, my comments are out there and I'm happy to defend them and or talk about them.
What's the viability of this?
I
What's
couldn't
happening?
even speculate. It's going to ultimately be a vote of the Board of Supervisors as to whether or not they want to move forward with the project. It's viable, depending on how much public outcry or comments that come in. I can't really speak to whether it's, I think the project as listed, it's a viable project. It does require, though, PID. It does require some other steps that I think could be problematic. I'll be honest. One of those, just from a planner, taking my planner hat on, is the idea of putting a traffic signal on the Skyway. that appalls me as a planner and as a citizen. I can't imagine 25,000 people a year coming down from the upper ridge now have to stop at a turn signal. So 160 residents can be accommodated. That to me is a major issue that the board's going to have to deal with. And I would think folks on the upper ridge would be very, very unhappy with a traffic signal going up on the Skyway suddenly. But having said that, maybe the removal of that multi-station gas station within the project will remove some of those turning movements, some of that traffic load, thus maybe removing the need for a traffic signal. But again, this is something the county staff's going to put in front of their elected leaders to determine if it's been mitigated effectively. And my comments are just comments. So I hope the town of Paradise, if had comments, got them in.
I'm sorry. say it
I
again.
hope the town of Paradise was able to comment on the project as well.
I'll follow up on that.
That's all I have on that one.
Town did respond. I'd like to see those comments. Yeah.
I just want to bring up one more quick thing, ongoing Tuscan Water District. I didn't put it in here because I just received it, but just so you all know, there was multiple conditions when we approved that project. Two of those conditions, one of them dealt with applying to have an MSR prepared for the district. I have received that application. It was due today. I received it yesterday with funding. So they've met that condition. And they also had a condition within 6 months to request the Board of Supervisors create electoral divisions within the district to minimize any particular view of consolidation of voting. That letter has been prepared and I understand it was delivered to the deputy or the CAO of the county yesterday. It'll somewhere down the line will end up on the board's agenda because it is the Board of Supervisors who has the authority to divide that up and create those divisions. So you two will be seeing a map shortly that where they have said, here's our divisions of equal size in acres. And then you'll vote on whether or not those divisions should be created, which was a big part of our approval process to ensure voting was not taken over by very large landowners. And you all sat through that, so you know that was an important part of it. Anyhow, that's been submitted. So they are on track for meeting their conditions as we speak. I just want to let you know. LAFCo board recently approved a new legislative process. It's I don't know how much it matters to 6 out of 7 of you, but as Mr. Connolly noted, there's a lot of strife sometimes in the LAFCo world. I don't think this was the best move to make. I think it does some things that were our strong suits, where we had a lot of staff come together and it was a very collegial process. This has been streamlined to be more like CSAC or more like CSDA. These are organizations with hundreds and hundreds of members, thousands of members, and staffs fully funded. I don't think our model of 58 counties with 58 members and a very limited staff of 3 can make the same inroads that they made. So I'm just letting you know because it's done, it's approved. But now I'm going to be charged with implementing part of it as the LAFCo executive officer. So I just want to keep you abreast, and I'm not confident that it will be around for long, but we'll see. That's all I have. You have any questions for me? I'm happy to answer them.
I'll talk to you afterwards.
Thank you.
Correspondence.
We have none.
Public comment. Anybody from the public like to speak on anything that's on your mind? Close public comment. We'll adjourn. We'll be back here Thursday, September 5th.
Thank you all.